A woman sits in a prison cell in Kigali. She says she's being denied her medicine. She says she's not allowed to pray. And she says she's being treated worse than anyone else inside those walls. Her name is Victoire Ingabire. And the reason her words from that cell matter, the reason this is not just one prisoner's complaint, is that she may be the single person Paul Kagame's government has spent 15 years trying to keep quiet. So why is she back behind bars in 2026? And what does her case reveal about the Rwanda the world thinks it knows? Let's start with what we actually know and separate it from what we don't. What we know. Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza is the most prominent opposition figure in Rwanda. In 2024, Liberal International, a global federation of liberal parties, handed her its prize for freedom. And right now, she is in detention in Kigali on trial, where prosecutors are asking for a life sentence. What we don't know, not independently, not yet, is exactly what's happening to her inside that cell. Because of the claims that she's being denied medication, denied the right to worship, and singled out for harsher treatment, those come from her and from her lawyers. Rwandan authorities have not confirmed them, and independent observers have not been allowed in to check. So when you see a headline insisting these abuses are proven, be careful. They are serious allegations. They are consistent with how she was treated the last time. But serious and consistent is not the same word as verified. And the honest version of this story holds both of those at once. Here's why it still matters, even unverified. Because we've seen this film before. Rewind to 2010. After 16 years abroad, Ingabire flew home to run for president. Within months, she was under arrest. The charge that anchored everything? Genocide ideology, tied to a speech at the Kigali Genocide Memorial in which she called for all of Rwanda's victims to be acknowledged. She got 8 years. On appeal, that became 15. She served 8, won a judgment at the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and walked free in 2018 on a presidential pardon. And watch what happened to that court. Ingabire won there. And not long after, Rwanda withdrew the right of individuals to bring cases directly to it. Think about what that means. The one external venue where an ordinary Rwandan could hold the state to account quietly narrowed after it ruled the wrong way. And this next part tells you how the system actually works. After her release, she was never allowed to register her party. She was barred from the 2024 election. She was repeatedly refused permission to leave the country to see her own family. Free on paper, boxed in practice. Then came June 2025, and the way she went back inside is almost hard to believe. She showed up to court as a witness in the trial of 9 of her party members and a journalist, people locked up since 2021. Their alleged crime? Reading a book about nonviolent resistance and attending online trainings about it. During that hearing, a judge asked out loud why Ingabire herself wasn't among the accused. Within days, she was arrested at her home, folded into the very trial she'd come to observe. And remember, a United Nations working group had already called the detention of those 9 arbitrary and unlawful. Prosecutors had already examined Ingabire's role years earlier and found nothing to charge her with. None of that stopped what came next. The world noticed. The European Parliament passed a resolution on her case, 549 votes to 2. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch demanded her release. In late 2025, a coalition of human rights groups took her case to the UN, asking it to declare her detention arbitrary outright. Which sets up the question this whole video is circling. If the EU, the UN, and the biggest names in human rights are all saying the same thing, why does Kigali keep going anyway? Now, before we answer that, the part most videos will skip. Rwandan government, and to many genocide survivors, she is a deeply divisive figure. They accuse her of minimizing the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi and of giving political cover to the networks behind it. She rejects that. She says she was talking about reconciliation and about justice for all Rwandans. That argument has never been settled, and I'm not going to pretend to you that it has. But here's the analytical core of this whole thing. You do not have to decide whether Ingabire is a hero to see the problem. A person can be polarizing and still be entitled to a fair trial, to her medication, to a lawyer, to the presumption of innocence. Those rights don't depend on whether you like her politics. That is the entire point of rights. So, back to the real question. Why does Kigali keep pushing when the cost is this much global criticism? I think the answer tells you something important about modern Rwanda. This is a state that has built an extraordinary international brand. Clean, efficient, safe. The Singapore of Africa. A darling of donors and investors. And it has apparently calculated that it can absorb the reputational hit from one opposition trial, because the world needs Rwanda on too many other files to ever follow through with real pressure. Rwandan peacekeepers, migration deals, and of course, Rwanda's role just across the border in the war in eastern Congo. And that is the connection that matters for this channel. The Rwanda that jails its most famous critic at home is the same Rwanda that projects power abroad, in the DRC, across the Great Lakes, in every negotiation where Kigali bets that strength and control get rewarded, not punished. The Ingabire case is not a side story. It's a window into the governing logic. So where does it leave us? A woman in a cell, sending out warnings that the outside world can't fully verify. A trial that could end in life imprisonment. And a government betting, probably correctly, that no one will make it pay. The question I'd leave you with isn't, is she guilty? The courts will stage their answer to that. The real question is this: what does it say about the international order and about Rwanda's place in it when the verdict feels written before the trial even ends? Tell me what you think in the comments. And if you want the context behind the headlines on Rwanda, the DRC, and the Great Lakes, you know where to find us.